It's the Genius Portal. Podcast is here. Come play in your heart.
Hello. Thank you for introducing us, Noah. Welcome back to the Genius Portal podcast. I'm joined today by my sister, the mother of my beautiful nephews, Elise and Noah, who's our newest and latest addition to the family. And he really wants you to hear about it.
He just had a feed before this call, so
Yeah.
for this podcast.
That's okay. There will be lots of parents listening, and they're going to know exactly where you're at. Well, that's okay.
Thank goodness.
Elise and I have known each other for a really, really long time. We went to high school together, and kind of stayed in touch, but then didn't. And then she fell in love with my brother.
Shocking to everybody.
Yeah, it was. Oh, darling. Yes.
Are you still hungry? You just needed a half time. Okay. Okay. Are you happy then?
Like, why are you talking about mum and not me?
Yeah. So you know I'm the centre of attention everywhere.
Darling.
And then kicking us off with a bang, aren't you? There we go. Okay.
Hey, we have latched. And all is right in the world again. Well, it's very fitting that you were our muse for Women of the Womb. And we were just setting intentions before we started our call today. And Elise was referencing Noah as the fruit of the womb, which I thought was really beautiful, poetic. And when we had our photo shoot, he literally was in the womb.
Yeah.
And we were,
I think I was, 39 weeks?
Yeah, we were living on the edge because we thought maybe you'll be pregnant, maybe you'll be giving birth,
maybe there'll be a newborn.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I would love to hear what the journey was like for you, or what it was like for you being invited onto the shoot, and your process of even saying yes. Like, were you straight away a yes? Were you tentative? Did you have to ponder it? And yeah, kind of moving from that moment through to actually being at the shoot. What went on for you?
So when you asked me, I think I actually said yes straight away, which I surprised myself with. I'd never done a photo shoot before, other than like a tiny little one in the back courtyard of our old house, and that was just for music. So other than that, I'd never done anything like that. And so yeah, when I sent back a yes, I was like, what? What have I done? But no, it felt like such an honor to be asked. And I was really excited too, because I hadn't had any like maternity photos with our first kid. So it was going to be nice to actually have something, if it wasn't a maternity shoot, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, so it'd be nice to have something to look back on. Yeah, so I was pretty nervous leading up to the shoot, because I was like, I have no idea what to do, or any of that, but no, it just felt really right to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then come the actual shoot, I was so excited. Super excited, and just happy that I was actually still pregnant, because I did feel certain that Noah was coming early. By the way, I was horrendously wrong. I think we were in our 41st week before he came. So
Yeah, because the shoot was on the 5th and he was born on the 19th.
yeah.
So that was another 2 weeks. We just didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. We had nothing to worry about at all.
Yeah.
Luke came along to the shoot as well because in case I went into labour, he could drive me back home. But yeah, thankfully it's not needed. Oh, there you go. Do you just want your voice heard? Is that better?
Noah's our first baby on the podcast, and I have zero issues with his sounds and all of that. I just think that's glorious. The listeners will love it. But what I didn't anticipate is that I would just stare at him and forget to talk to you.
Very easy to do.
Yeah.
So when you're that cute, you're very distracting.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so going back to the photo shoot. What was it like being women of the womb? Because it kind of, you say, like, it wasn't a maternity shoot, but it kind of also was. Like, it gave you that opportunity to do that. And yeah, what was it like when you actually got into it? What were you nervous about? Literally the photos? Were you nervous about the other women? Like, what were you nervous about? And then what was it actually like?
I was nervous about just not having any idea what to do, how to pose, any of that stuff. I was like, I'm going to look like a potato. Like, what do I do? But no, that's where Addie and Sarah came in, and they were so good in directing. And so, ended up just feeling really comfortable. I'm not going to say natural, but it felt pretty comfortable. And yeah, just getting into that woman of the womb, it made me feel really beautiful and powerful, which for those that have been pregnant, sometimes you don't really feel either of those because it can make you feel the opposite. But yeah, that shoot really got me into that, which was really beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you feel any like ongoing effects from it? Like, do you feel like that feeling of beauty and your power stayed with you moving forward from it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think I was on a high for the next week after that.
Yeah, me too. I spoke to Addie yesterday. It was yesterday. And I was saying how I felt like I was just like having a trip for like a good 5 or 6 days. Like, I was just so happy and in awe.
Yeah.
I kept crying. I kept like seeing one of the photos and then crying and going, "That's my friend," or like, "That's me."
I love it.
It was really, really cool. What was it like meeting all of the women? Because you didn't know most of them before.
No, I think I knew. I either knew or knew of maybe half of them. But yeah, didn't really know well. But that was awesome. It was such a nice vibe, such a nice little community there. That was definitely one of the highlights, was meeting and getting to hang out with all the women. I mean, I myself, I don't have a massive group of friends, especially since the last couple of years. Just being around so many incredible women was phenomenal. Yeah,
that's really cool. Shall we go there the last couple of years?
How controversial do you want to get?
Yeah. What's been happening in your world that's made you feel separate from other women in your life?
I got pretty lucky, I think, I already had a pretty small group of friends anyway, and it was more friendly acquaintances that with differing opinions, with various illness things.
You can say
I'll call a spade with COVID.
Yeah.
With differing opinions on vaccinations and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A few more friendly acquaintances kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
Which has not really been a big loss.
Yeah.
But it also makes it harder because for a time there we couldn't actually go anywhere and meet people and do all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty much out the other side of that now, but yeah, you kind of notice lingering differences, or people treat you a little bit differently, or talk to you differently, or not at all, in some cases. But it's been good too, though. You figure out who is on the same page as you and who's not judging you. I think it's one of the big ones. Yeah.
It's really interesting because I feel like on one hand it's been like this social cleanse, because we have very similar beliefs and we both acted similarly throughout that time, and I think received similar kickback or support from different people. And it was just like I just feel like it's this social cleanse. And it's before we jumped on the podcast today, we were talking about temple work, and how when you come to personal development, or you enter a temple and you go to a workshop or you go to a course or something, you're expecting this like glow up. And sometimes it's more of a need to destruct the current structures to then have your glow up. And I feel like in a way what the pandemic did, and I'm not saying that I particularly enjoyed it or that I agree with it, or definitely not saying that, but you know, that happened and the past is over, right? It happened. But I feel like it gave this opportunity. It's like the whole world became the temple, and we could choose whether we broke our heart open to it and faced it, or we could bury it down. And what I noticed, at least in my friendship groups and the friends that I had differing opinions with in particular, or acquaintances, like you say, I probably call people friends really loosely. I met you once and now we're best friends. But it was that difference between, are you willing to be vulnerable and face what this really means, and also face the consequences of whatever you choose, because there were consequences both ways.
Definitely.
And obviously people with different values or prioritizing different values made different decisions, or different opinions on their different values, whatever. But I feel like I'm butchering this a little bit, but yeah, what I noticed in my friendship groups was that regardless of what decisions people made about vaccinations, or about keeping or letting go of their jobs, or all of those different like health decisions that were being made, career decisions that were being made, house decisions that were being made, there were a lot of huge decisions that people were forced to make. What I noticed is that the people who are willing to be vulnerable, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their opinions, regardless of what they believed was right, I was able to stay connected with. Even if we believed completely separate things and made completely different decisions. If they could be vulnerable with me and I could be vulnerable, it worked out. But the people that weren't vulnerable and were more information focused or opinion focused, or I'm right, I need to show you how you're wrong,
and they just had no flex. There was no give on their opinions. It's like those people are just it's like the humanness is sucked out of them, because now it's just, this means good, this means bad. It's very black and white, but it's very much not. Very much not. No, it was certainly interesting, and seeing how people act now towards other decisions with vaccinations and stuff just seems so different to what it was pre-COVID. They seem a lot more, I think, forceful with opinions, might be the word.
What's been your experience with boys? Because you've got 2 babies and you've gone through, maybe you could speak to it a little bit, you've gone through a huge transition just in your life personally, in your world, since having Eli to having Noah. Like, life is very different as a family unit and as a family structure. And I mean that other than adding another small human. You know what I mean? But like the chapter of life when Eli came, which is Elise's first, and the chapter of life when you had Noah, really different. And you're really different. Like you've gone through your own metamorphosis in that time. Can you speak to that a little bit and how maybe that's also impacted your journey with your boys as well?
Yeah, so with Eli, we had just moved out to where we are now. So we moved from in town to a little kind of semi-rural estate, I suppose. And so even doing that, sort of regardless of anything else, moving out from where everyone is or was, kind of, I guess, ostracized us a little bit. You sort of get left out of things and all of that. And then we had Eli in COVID times. Was that 2021? So yeah, we sort of went through a lot of pregnancy and all that kind of stuff without a whole heap of support. Luke was still working in the mines, so he wasn't always home. But yeah, and since having Eli and all of COVID happening, we've got Luke works from home. Currently now don't really work. No, it's just being his cute little self.
Yeah, there's a painting above our heads for those who are listening, not watching.
He's fascinated.
He's very fascinated by it. Aren't you? It's an aerial photo of Rottnest Island.
It is a very pretty picture.
It is really beautiful. Yeah.
Hi. But yeah, so I think going through all of that and having to make decisions with Eli, we really tested the waters of, do we want to continue vaccinating? Do we not? And he got the first couple of rounds before we kind of went, this isn't for us. This doesn't feel right. And going through those decisions when everyone around you is still kind of doing the normal things, you kind of feel really left out, I suppose. And you kind of have to get a lot of clarity on your decision so that you can be strong in that. Because everyone's trying to sway your decision one way or another. And so I feel like through both boys, we've gotten a lot more, I guess, mentally resilient towards external factors. I think both of us now don't really care much now for people's opinions, and more if they're trying to, shove them at us, not just have a conversation. But yeah, we've found definitely found that we've got a lot more clarity on sort of where we're wanting to go and who we want to be as parents and just humans in general.
It's interesting. What do you need, little one? The magical boobs.
Yeah.
I love it because I feel like I'm just like, this is my future. Like, this is what I'm going to be like on every call I'm on. Transmission. And I like the invitation actually to slow down.
Yeah.
It's nice.
You don't have a choice with kids. Yeah. There we go. That's what I was trying to do.
If only he knew.
Yep. They've been a great invitation to slow down. And so good.
Yeah. Definitely. I felt that too, just in the intentionally spending time with them, and it's funny every time I have it in my diary, and sometimes I still make the mistake of, I've double booked, or which I've done today.
I was about to say today.
Yeah, like today. But for the most part, I don't, and things have been I've been a little bit unsettled not being at home, and I'm just kind of realizing today how much that's impacted me, and I haven't applied a new structure to resolve that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sort that out tomorrow. But
Sorry for your ears.
yeah, I was gonna say pause and you can see
So,
brief baby interlude. Welcome back.
and he is now sleeping, so
yeah,
hopefully he stays that way.
Cute. I was saying about the boys, like I prioritize time for them, and I notice when I'm like stressing about stuff or I'm looking at my to-do list or whatever, I always go, I don't have time for that. And then I always say to myself beforehand, because I don't want to get there and be resenting that I'm there. I want to get there and be there, and enjoy that I'm there, because it's like I love it. You would know, because you would see how happy I am when I'm there. But I always remind myself that every time I go afterwards, I'm always like, as if I thought I was going to go anywhere else, like as if I thought anything else was more important than coming and spending time with them. And so then when I get in I just call it getting in my shit, getting out of my heart, or when I'm contracted beforehand because I'm worrying about time, or really we were talking about slowing down, it's like I want things to go faster. I want my projects to move faster. I want my to-do list to disappear faster. That doesn't happen when you spend time with kids. In fact, usually the to-do list just gets bigger. I remind myself that that's not actually the goal. Like the goal is to spend time with them, and I want to be slow for that. So I love it. I really appreciate it. And even then I noticed that ripple effect through my world of like, slow down, what actually needs to happen today, what actually is the priority today. It's not whatever in my mind I think it is, because usually in my mind there's 3,000 things that have to happen.
All the open tabs.
Literally. Goodness. I was going to ask you, because I never really had this conversation with you either. This is fun for me. You're obviously allowed to not answer anything if you don't want to, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about that process with Eli of going through that change of opinion with vaccinating him, because I think a lot of the stuff that I see shared about it is really do or don't hardcore, and it doesn't, and it's very opinion filled rather than here's my story of how I came to my own truth, and I'll listen to anyone's story about how they came to their truth, whether I agree with their truth or not, because it's, again, there's a vulnerability and there's a connection in that, and there's a humanness to it that I can still relate to, and there's always a benefit from relating with another human, because my personal, I guess, opinion or feeling is that when I'm pregnant or when I have my children, I do want to have home births, and I've wanted to do that for a really long time, but when it comes to vaccinations, I've just always had this sense that when they're born, I'm going to know if any of it's true for them. And I just feel like their spirit will talk to me. And I actually think that people in my life would hear me say that and go, yeah, that's what Ellie would do.
Pretty much,
to be honest. So I've never even thought about if people disagreed with me. I'm just like, whatever, that's how I rule my world, is through intuition. But that's not, I think, well, maybe it's becoming more of your world coming from that intuitive place. But what was it like for you? I remember like bits of it, but
so Eli, we had two very different experiences with both boys, both good experiences but different. So Eli, we had private health at the time, so we ended up having him at the private hospital in Bunbury, which we had a great experience with that. not having to worry about meals and having everything done for you for a few days was magic.
And that was your vision, right? It was your vision to have a hospital birth.
Yeah. It was our first time. We didn't know what we know now. We weren't as, like, I guess, empowered in choices and stuff like that. But still, we thought we have him at hospital. If the worst case happens, we're sort of covered.
Yeah.
Worst case did not happen. We had a very long labour, but still got to have him naturally and all of that, which is what I really wanted. Straight away he got the vitamin K, and then we declined the Hep B. I think is one of the first ones they want to give them. That just always seemed weird to us. We didn't have any connections where we would be worried about that happening. So that one was pretty easy to be like, no. But yeah, and even at the hospital, they do this heel prick test. I cannot for life me remember the name of it. But they do that, I think, the second day or something, and it's honestly awful. You got to hold your baby while they're crying and they're trying to prick the heel to get blood out of them. Ugh. It is not pleasant. But yeah, we got that because we didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So yeah, even that this time around we haven't ended up getting because we decided we didn't want to or need to.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what's the perceived benefit of the heel prick test?
If I can remember it screens for some other diseases or issues, probably isn't the right word, but I'm struggling for the word.
Yeah.
But yeah, it screens for some other ones that will come up in the blood, and I think they keep it for a couple of years as well. Or I get sent to Perth. Yeah, I think it's sent to Perth and they keep it for a few years.
Right.
But there were no signs with Noah of anything that would pop up. So
yeah,
it wasn't with Eli either. We just had no idea. It was kind of like, oh, okay, this is happening on this day.
Yeah.
All right, we'll deal with it.
No.
Yeah. So now that knowing what we know now, we wouldn't have got it with Eli either. But yeah, vaccination wise, so we had the vitamin K straight away, declined the Hep B, and then we ended up getting his, I think it's 6 week is the first lot. We sort of went, Luke and I both had the full schedule growing up. We've been fine as far as we can tell. So we're like, yeah, we'll start getting them and see how we go with it. We can stop at any time. So see what happens. So we got the first lot. We didn't really notice any side effects or anything. A little bit sooky that day, I think, and that's about it. Then this is all when I think the rallies were just starting to happen in Bunbury, the freedom rallies. So yeah, we started going along to those not long after, I think, that first round. And then we ended up getting, I'm going to say it's 12 weeks. It might be 8. I think it's 12 was the next lot. We got that. So it's just a repeat of what they get the first time.
Yeah.
And again, we didn't really notice anything. I think he might have been a bit hot or something that afternoon. That was about it. But then when the next ones came along, I started feeling like I just couldn't bring myself to book the appointment. That was the biggest kind of red flag for me intuitively. It was just like I could not pick up the phone to book it. Something in me was just like, don't do it. And we got talking to a lady at one of the Bunbury rallies. She came up to us and she asked us, so Eli's got what they call the stalk mark on the back of his head/neck. They call it the stalk mark, and it's, they tell the tale that when the stork drops the baby off, that's a little mark that gets left there. And it's just one of those like kind of birthmark things. This lady came up and she said, oh, I've just noticed that your son has that. So does mine. And he got horrendously vaccine injured. I think he was non-verbal, really like quite high on the spectrum. And she was like, my whole life changed after he had must have been like the 12 months or 18 months or something. They have, which one is it? The MMR? Mumps, measles. Measles, rubella. I think it was that one. And since then, it completely changed her son. And I think that might have been the one that I was starting to struggle with. And I was like, I can't bring myself to want Eli to get this. So the more we kind of spoke with her, we were like, okay, I'm glad I haven't booked that appointment. And sort of since then, so basically the stalk mark, referring to that, is a sign that the kids have this gene called the MTHFR. Now, quite a mouthful. But basically this gene, really basically, it makes people more susceptible to being affected by things like vaccines or additives in food, all that kind of stuff, which we have actually noticed with Eli. If we give him something like even sugar, something really sugary, he just goes up his trolley. And he's already a pretty full-on kid. So yeah, we'll try and avoid that. So yeah, the thought of if we keep going with this schedule, we could really stuff up what's going on there. Noah's got the same marks, so it was sort of a no-brainer for us not to give him a single one. But yeah, so birth-wise, with Noah, we had a totally different experience there too. We had the home birth with a midwife who was very on board with our views, which was awesome. We didn't end up getting vitamin K with Noah because we kept him attached to the placenta longer. And so he got more of his blood, where Eli, we did have the delayed cord clamping, but in hospital it's like 2 minutes, whereas Noah was attached to it for a good hour or two, I think. I kind of lost track that morning. So we've declined everything with him, and he's been absolutely fine, and he's growing tremendously. So with the vaccines and everything, it was a feeling originally. It was that don't do it, but then solidified when we spoke to that lady, and there were plenty others there with a very similar story. That their kid was fine, and then at however many months or after this vaccine or that one, they weren't the same. More stories than there should be. I think. Yeah,
it's so interesting. I'm crying.
I just looked and I was like, what?
Doesn't take much, does it?
I should know you by now.
I don't know why. If I make it up, I just think it's crazy that, like, I started to get emotional when you talked about that mum, and I remember I really remember. I don't know if it was you or Luke. I remember one of you telling me about it because I knew it was the MMR vaccine, so I remember bits of it. I remember that story and you guys meeting her.
She made me cry when she was telling us. I was crying.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
It is, and it's and again, it's a mirror, right? How many people were vaccinated for COVID in the last couple of years, believing that was right for their health, and then coming to regret it. And that's not me throwing my opinion saying that no one should have done it and whatever. People have their own paths. I have a lot of friends who chose to get vaccinated, and that's
and it is each their own. That's cool. Very much so. If that's a risk that you're happy to take, power to you. If that's if you are making that from an empowered place that yes, I want to do this, yes, it is my choice, not I'm being forced or coerced or I'm going to lose this or that. That's what I take a lot of issue with. It kind of makes me laugh because COVID created a lot of anti-vaxxers.
It did.
I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of them.
And it's interesting because it's kind of highlighted a greater kind of it's not secret, and maybe it's like more far removed from me because I'm not a parent, so I'm not going through that experience. And I also have a pretty unique lifestyle of being at home as well. So when I'm a parent, I'm not going to be looking for daycare and stuff like that. But it just kind of highlights to me this, I want to say, like this other pandemic of like parents having to vaccinate their children to get support in raising them. And again, I think, you know, if you need to get, if it's true for you, or you want to get, or you need to have daycare, or you want your children to go to school, great, let that be available to you but it's that similar thing of the condition for them to go.
Yeah. And that's why we're really lucky and privileged that we both work from home. So we don't have to worry about daycare and all that kind of thing. Schooling, I believe you can still, they can't really stop kids going to school from what I can gather. They can't kind of withhold education.
Yeah.
Might be different for like private schools because it's private. It's not government run, but I think, and I could be very wrong, but I think schools have to allow kids in. There might be like some kind of caveat there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Daycares, they definitely run by those rules. They can't.
Yeah.
So
it's wild. And I think the grief for me is like I have complete faith that those parents are doing the best that they can.
Oh, absolutely.
With what they are told and taught and what they're learning. And
honestly, a lot of parenthood is rock and a hard place. Like damned if you do, damned if you don't with choices. It makes it really hard. So yeah.
Yeah. And that some of those choices have such huge consequences or potential consequences. Yeah. It's wild. Again, like that's my future.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Lots of decisions.
Yeah. What was it like deciding to have a home birth? Like what was that?
It was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. The more I got listening to a certain podcast. Can I plug another podcast?
Sure.
Yeah, it's totally different. The Great Birth Rebellion.
Cool.
Wicked podcast. You're right, Bubba. Keep sleeping. They're evidence-based, but we'll look at the greys. We'll look at the shades of grey and look at it in a non-opinionated, here's the facts, make your decisions. But they're very much for home birth and for having midwives over doctors and that sort of thing, because birth isn't an illness. Pregnancy isn't an illness. It's natural. It is what it is. Women know how to birth, and midwives are, for the most part, I'm very generalizing here, but for the most part, they do all the work anyway. Having one at home in our own safe space just felt right. And it was the best experience.
Yeah.
It really was. And someone was in a rush anyway, so yeah. You're looking hungry again. There may be more crying in a second.
That's okay.
We loved the home birth. As I said, our hospital experience was really good. But if we'd done Eli over again, we would have had a home birth the first time too.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for, like, the hospital birth was the best birth that you could have had with Eli, as who you both were then, like you and Luke, and this birth with Noah was the best birth that you could have had as who you were when he came into the world. You know,
definitely.
Which is beautiful and is actually really different to a lot of women's stories.
Yeah.
But that's what you've created is, I find it really inspiring. I think it's really cool.
But same thing, like we got educated on what we wanted, what our options were, what we could say. Well, you could say no to anything and everything. But knowing what potential consequences are of saying no to this, that, and the other, and even our midwife, like choosing her due to her stance on vaccinations and stuff. Had we had to go to hospital, she couldn't be our midwife.
Right.
Because of those vaccination laws, which is crap.
Yeah.
But even knowing that, we just had faith that the home birth was right and that it would, the universe would sort it out for us. And we got very lucky that, everything went to plan, and pretty much how we sounded coming out, actually.
Probably quite similar to how you sounded too.
I think so, yeah.
Hi, darling. Hello. Beautiful. You haven't talked about it much, and I don't know if you want to, so tell me if you don't. But were there any particular moments of challenge or highlight during your birth that you could reflect on and share with us?
Yeah, I'm talking about you. Big body. I'm not going to do that.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Mister, what's going on? Most of it was highlight, to be honest. So with Eli, I got to have him naturally. I did end up having the gas. When I got to transition, I started to kind of lose it. We'd been going for 20 something hours at that point. So I ended up having the gas with him just to kind of center me back to breathing and get me through it.
And for a birthing muggle or muggle, that's probably not the right word, someone who hasn't given birth yet, is the gas just more oxygen? Or does it have, is there something
I think
else
it's just more oxygen.
Yeah.
Again, could be wrong. I was kind of just like, I'll take it.
Yeah. But there's something about the gas, like it doesn't cross the placenta. Is
correct.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas everything else, to whatever extent, does cross the placenta and can mess with them. So yeah, that was one thing I very much didn't want an epidural, didn't want any other interference. So I ended up having that with him, which I was happy with. I needed it. I was kind of, every contraction I was getting to, I was shaking my head going, no, 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 no. I don't want it to come. And so I definitely needed it. With Noah, I found it a lot easier to center in on my breathing and actually control it. I'm someone who I've always kind of prided myself on breathing. I'm a singer. I know how to breathe. But yeah, when it came to birth, I kind of got a big shock then with Eli. I was like, oh, crap. I don't know how to do this as well as I thought. But yeah, with Noah, I think just knowing what was coming was the big thing. I kind of knew what to expect. To an extent, every birth is different. But yeah, I kind of knew what was coming and I knew how to control it a little bit more. So yeah, I found that really cool. And even when we ended up having a water birth as well. Almost missed it because someone was in a hurry, but we got there. So once I was in the pool and really having those big contractions, my midwife was able to coach me through it, not from a push, push, push point of view, but like tell me breathe this way to get through this contraction. And and having that kind of guidance was really nice. It was really good. So I didn't find it as mentally challenging this time. That was good.
Other than, hi, hello, darling. You want to tell your birth story too? Yeah, it's pretty special. Other than you've done it before, so you know you can do it, and now you're in your own space. So that must bring a sense of comfort. All of those things. Was there anything else that contributed to the second one feeling, easier, less challenging?
I think having full faith in the midwife, having a private midwife, you see them, well, for a start, you see them once a month in the beginning, and then by the end of pregnancy, you see them every week. You get a really good relationship with them. So like Eli, I was in the midst of pushing and they had shift change.
Wow.
And I could still remember, I don't remember the names of them, but I remember them coming up and whispering to me and saying, we're just having shift change, like this is new midwife such and such. And I was in the midst of these insane contractions and I'm just thinking, I don't care who's behind me right now. Just let me do my thing. They were lovely about it, don't get me wrong, but I just thought, I don't care. I don't remember anyway. Just whoever's back there is back there. Let me do my thing. Whereas this one, there is one midwife. Most of the time she's just chilling, just filling out whatever she's got to fill out, doing the thing, checking in every now and then, check blood pressure and that sort of thing. But she just leaves you alone, and it makes you feel safer because they're not constantly up in your grill. I didn't get one VE, one vaginal exam, not one. Where women think they have to have one every time, you know, the midwife or something comes and checks on you, and it's just so unnecessary and interrupts a normal physiological birth.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely knowing all of that and having that was such a comfort. And so it shows that when your body is safe, when you are safe, it happens. It happens as it should. Again, not always, I'm generalizing, but for the most part, yeah, it should just go quite smooth.
Yeah, and that's been your story, right? So
yeah,
you can generalize yourself as much as you want.
And I've got to give Luke credit. He's a fantastic birth partner.
Yeah.
He's a really calming presence there. And he got to come in the pool and catch Noah and pass him to me. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
He was actually, I don't know if we've told you this bit, but it must have been I think Eli had gone. We decided not to have him there because he would just want to swim in the pool, and
Yeah, he's
I
a
think
water
he was
baby.
I think he was just a little bit too young to grasp what was going on. So he left around midnight. But I think just before that, Luke had the guitar out. I was showing him a couple of things. So that kind of just shows how kind of chill it was in the lead up.
Yeah.
We're just cruising.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't think we told you.
Well, I haven't really asked you much about it because we were so honoured to be there the day of his birth and to come meet him and see Eli in that glow of I've got a baby. And all of you, to be able to be there and share in that. To me, it's so sacred. And my, I guess, perspective on birth is that I kind of see it similar to when you go on a medicine journey. You're in this other world and you're having this otherworldly experience and it changes your brain and it's big and emotional and tiring and so taxing and expansive. Yeah. That I really have a lot of reverence for you choosing the right time to share about it. And for some people, they'll want to do it immediately and that helps them land back in their body and arrive. And for other people, and I think I'm also one of those people, I need a few days to digest when I go through big things. And I haven't gone through birth yet, but even if I've gone on a mushroom ceremony, I've gone on a mushroom journey for 8 hours or something, someone could say, how was it? And I'd be like, I don't know, ask me next week. I'm still coming back together, Yeah. I imagine birth being kind of 10, 100 times that. And I just have a lot of reference for it. So it's not a bubble that I want to poke around in. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's definitely easy post-birth to kind of overdo it on visitors and that sort of thing. Yeah. I remember with Eli, I felt quite overwhelmed sometimes in that probably first couple of weeks. We had a lot of visitors where I guess that's when it came in handy because they definitely weren't as many this time, which was sort of blessing in disguise. Yeah. But also second time around, you're a lot better at holding boundaries. Yeah. And being like, no, I don't want a visitor today. Or okay, time to go. It's a lot easier to kind of tell people where you're at. Thanks. I remember being so shocked because that reverence and sacred view that I have of birth is the same, has been the same for both of your births. And I remember being shocked, being invited to come see him straight away the first time. Yeah. And then I remember getting there and you were so relaxed. I don't know if you were getting these waves of oxytocin post-birth. Post-birth high is pretty good. Yeah, you were so chill and he was just wrapped up right next to you and you were like, want to hold it? And I was just shocked. And I was there with Mum. And obviously Mum was like, yes, and ran over like a lightning bolt. But I was so shocked I didn't even have time to respond. Because I was really just honoured to be there. Yeah. And not, being there was sacred to me, let alone holding him. And I had this whole I guess when you guys were pregnant, I'd gone down this rabbit hole of how do I support pregnant people? Like, how do I support the family?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And all the information was kind of like, you know, ask mum what she wants. Don't go hold her baby. Maybe she wants to hold her baby.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not much of a cook, but I could bring you food. Or like do some dishes or put some laundry on.
Yeah.
You know, like there's other things that are more helpful that you can do. But it's been interesting even this time. I mean, we've given you guys food and
we appreciate it.
have to give props to my wife for a lot of that. I'll come buy the food. I'll invest in the food.
Credit where it's due.
Yeah, credit where it's due. You are better off me not cooking.
I wouldn't put you through that anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, and maybe it's also different because now there's two, and so you've had like Eli is a really active child, loves running around and
does not nap.
Yeah, and usually it's more like, actually, can you please just spend time with Eli, and that's what you guys want. But what I've really learned, supporting any women of the womb as they become mums, is actually asking you what you want is more beneficial than trying to learn about it. Yeah, because even trying to learn about it, and I was getting all these like woke opinions of like, don't go hold the baby, do this, support her, da 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 da. Yeah, it was like none of them actually said just ask her. Yeah, just ask, because every mum's different. Yeah, and I even noticed that with some mums where I'll go, oh, do you want help changing, or do you want me to hold them while you do that, or do you want me to clean it? Sometimes they get pissed off that I'm seeing them as less than capable and they don't want that help. And sometimes they're like, yes, please take my child. Like, and I think even on a different day in the same week, you would respond differently.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know I've had moments where someone's offered to like clean something or do something, kind of in my head, I'm just like, I can do it. I'm not incapable. And you kind of really got to step back and go, they're just offering help. Like, take the damn help. Yeah. Because it can be really easy to get caught up in that, like, you've got to be not so much perfect mum sort of thing, but you've got to be on top of it. Yeah. It's really hard to kind of let go and go, okay, no, I do need help here.
Yeah. I think there is like a societal thing of you got to be perfect and you got to be on top of it. Yeah. And I always think of, you know, I'm obsessed with the past a little bit, like period, like medieval kind of past. Yeah. And it's not all good. No. But how those families, like, they never raised their children by themselves, whether they were peasants or whether they were the rich. None of them did it alone. The peasants had to help each other because of circumstances, and they had to, and the wealthy had to have help. They had all the help in the world. They had all the help in the world, you know, maybe too much help, and too much separation from their children. Yeah. But, you know, like, just that reference point of togetherness. And I'm not saying that was a particularly functional society, but they did it together. And our society is like, no, this is my house, and these are my babies, and I will be all the hats. I will wear all the hats and take care of all of it. And
but I think going back to sort of what we were saying earlier, like, everyone's always really busy. Like, everyone's always got so much to do. It's really hard when you're in that, especially the very early motherhood stage, where time sort of means nothing to you. Yeah. And reaching out and asking to help from someone who's still working, who's still doing all the things, you don't want to be a burden to them. Even though logically, you know, you wouldn't be. They're more than happy to help. Yeah. But, taking yourself away from that. Oh, they're too busy. And it is very easy to think that everyone is too busy. Yeah. Because it sort of feels that way sometimes.
It's kind of the world that we're in. And it's interesting how, I don't know if this is the case for you, but I imagine roles reversed. You'd be like, yeah, of course I can get you that when I go to the shops. Yeah, of course I'll do your dishes. Of course. Yeah, of course. I'm here. Like, but when it's us and it's our turn to receive, or it's like we're the one in the vulnerable position, because it's vulnerable to go, hey, I'm struggling, or hey, I'm tired. Absolutely. I can't keep up with all of this. It's
and being seen as vulnerable is hard. Especially in that it's like, I've got to take care of these humans. I can't be vulnerable. I can't be not onto it because they're relying on you. So yeah, it's a funny one. But if you do want to support women, ask them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they might say, like, I don't know what to do, in which case cook them something.
Yeah.
That is generally the easiest sort of way to support.
At least if you ask and they say, I don't know, they can start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because I think before that, like, it opens that communication to be like, oh, this person wants to help me.
Yeah.
What would actually feel good to get help with?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a really, it's very different, but it's also kind of mirrored with like having a business and asking for help.
Yeah.
I really resonate with that. If someone else is like, help, I'd be like, yeah. But when it's me, I'm like, no, I have to do it all.
Yeah.
It's a similar death that I've gone through, that I continue to go through.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's incredible. What's your, oh, actually, before I completely change the subject to start wrapping us up, I also just want to add, maybe probably for our listeners' sake, but I'm sure you'll have gold to add too, that not just asking you and the mother what you need, but also the second parent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And supporting there. And that's been, yeah, I mean, well, Luke's my brother, so that's probably, maybe I'll probably speak to Luke a little bit more than I speak to you anyway, but like it's been really cool asking both of you, and both of your answers have been different other than food. That's the easy.
You can always guarantee the answer will be food for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's been really nice. Even I actually love it. It's funny, on the other side of it, like when I've messaged and said, hey, can we bring anything? And you go, actually, yeah, can you get this? I'm like, fuck yeah, like I can help.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice feeling to be able to bring whatever it is. Yeah. To be able to give. Yeah. It's really nice. And I feel like I'm giving to all four of you. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah.
No, we've definitely appreciated your support, that's for sure.
Yeah. What's what's anything that you would share about like your, I was gonna say your support person, Luke. Like what's been something that he's done that's really supported you in this time?
He's really big on I'm trying to think of how to word it, on making sure that I look after myself.
Yeah.
He's always asking, like, do I need a break, even if it's to go check the chooks or something like that, or like get in the gym, anything like that. He got me to write him a list of things that I like enjoy doing that kind of refill my cup. It's very easy to get in the trenches, and you know the kids always come before you no matter what. So yeah, it's very easy to kind of neglect yourself, and so he's been really good at asking what I need. Which yeah, it's been really, really helpful, because I definitely need the reminder too.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I remember coming out one day to hang out, and I was like, do you need anything done? And you were like, I'm just gonna go out to the chooks. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes like someone comes over and I'm like, I'm outside.
Yeah.
Come get me if you need me.
Yeah. But it's like time for you to just be in nature, I guess.
Yeah, I was just having a break.
Yeah.
You know, at the moment Eli's going through the quite terrible twos. Yeah. And so he's been very whiny, especially the last couple of weeks, and it's like, it's been quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of that with you two.
He agrees.
Yeah.
Okay, so to try and wrap us up, I just saw the time. We're on baby time. Yeah. To bring it back to women of the womb.
Yep.
And yeah, that experience, I guess. What's been the goal of that whole experience? Your best takeaway, or your best, like you mentioned, feeling beautiful and powerful. Maybe that was it. But yeah, what's been your takeaway of being part of this art and being invited to be a part of it?
I think my goal from it was to be around more women. Yeah, I think I had the warm fuzzies for the next month after being in that group. It was just so awesome. Yeah, be around more women. More community.
Yeah, it was. I found it was really cool too, because we had women of all different ages and walks of life, and it was really, women of the womb in lots of different ways.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful takeaway. Okay, the question I've been asking everybody is, what's your favorite song?
Ooh. I think so far, Temple of Lilith. Yeah, it gets stuck in my head. It's so catchy. Yeah, the Temple of Lilith.
It surprises me what everyone says. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Can you please?
Is that your favorite song?
Yeah.
Gosh, you're cute.
You're so cute. He's staring at me. How can people come find you if they want to connect with you? Would it be okay if mums who are going through similar things sent you a message or
absolutely
reached out? Where's the best place for people to reach out? And
so I suppose professionally, I've got my Facebook page, Elise Louise Music. That's where you can keep up with whatever gigs I'm doing. For those who are local in the Southwest, I'll be doing music lessons in a couple of weeks from home. So if that calls to anyone, hit me up. Otherwise, my Instagram is just Elise Lou. Ellie will tag that.
I'll tag all of them. I'll tag the podcast you mentioned earlier. I'll tag the Facebook page. I'll tag your Instagram.
Awesome.
And music lessons is awesome. Elise is a beautiful musician. We didn't even really talk about that today. So we'll have to have you back to talk about your music world. But definitely reach out to her. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're really special.
That's awesome. We never actually just sit down and talk, so
we don't. Hey, we incidentally do. Yeah. Well, I love you. I love you.
We love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Da 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 da. It's the genius portal.